Hello everyone, this is DA5030.Arshad. Today I will be presenting my term project. So the dataset is called Speed Dating Experiment Dataset. In these events, the participants had 4 minutes for their first date with every other participant of the same sex. And after their first 4-minute date, they were asked if they would like to see their date again, and they were asked to rate their dates on 6 attributes. My goal today would be to build models and evaluate them to predict selection of a male partner based on the attributes, and we'll analyze which attributes are more important. So for data exploration, I've built some visualizations. We can take a look at proportion of matches here and compare that to proportion of matches by gender. There was no significant difference for the proportion of matches by gender. And we can see that there were fewer matches resulted from the experiment. Next, we can look at the distribution of the participants' intended career. We can see that the banking, business, academic, and research are the two more popular fields for the participants' intended career, and also that women dominate academic research and social work, speech pathology, journalism, and psychologist, whereas men are more interested in banking, business, real estate, sports, athletics, and architecture. Next, we can take a look at the distribution of age. There are more women than women. There are more women than men in this experiment dataset, and there are more women between the ages of 21 to 27. Next, looking at the distribution of race, we see that most of them identify as European or Asian Americans. So for data preparation, I used PCA, and looking at the scree plot here, we see that the first principal component explains most of the variation in the data. However, I chose to select all of them because they cumulatively explain all the variation in the data. And I identified some outliers. We can look at the box plot here. Traction, sincerity, intelligence, and so on. I did not remove these because these were personal preferences, so I chose to keep them. The data did have some missing values, which I used to, I imputed the mean for them and replaced it for the missing values. Here we have a full correlation matrix. We see that attraction is correlated with fun and shared interest, and intelligence is correlated with ambition and sincerity. Next, we move on to modeling. I made 3 models: linear regression, regression tree, k-nearest neighbor, and then I built an ensemble model. So first we can take a look at the linear regression model's code. Here we can see that the code for linear regression model, I had to transform some of the features because that gave a better R² for the linear regression model. And I'll go ahead and run this code. We can see the summary here. We can see that the model is statistically significant based on the p-value of the F statistic here, and that adjusted R² is 0.6843, so that means that 68% of the variation in the target variable is explained by the selected features. And we see that attraction and fun have the most significant p-values, and as well as sincerity. So we can conclude that intelligence, ambitious, and shared interests are not as important for the construction of this model, since the p-value is not significant enough. So the next model I selected was regression tree for this classification task. Here we can see the tree. It's split upon attraction and shared interest, and 50% of attractive men were chosen for second dates. Here is a plot for the KNN versus the root mean squared error that I built. This was with the cross validation. It was found that K equal to 17 was the best value because it had the lowest root mean squared error. And then these models were evaluated using correlation, RMSE, MAE, MAD, accuracy, kappa, and prediction interval. The ensemble model was built using stacking method, and the results were slightly better. We can compare all the models in the next slide. Here we can see that these are the values for correlation. So ensemble model had the highest correlation and a lower MAD compared to the linear regression model over here, since the top layer for the ensemble model was a generalized linear regression. Here we see that regression tree has lower values for the RMSE, MAE, and MAD, but it does have a very low correlation of 0.447. The next best model would be the k-nearest. It has a correlation of 0.71, and these are its evaluation metrics. Based on the results of these models' predictions, it's clear that attraction is the most important attribute to getting a second date with the females. It's also important to remember that the subjects had only 4 minutes to decide if they wanted a second date with that person. So that's something to keep in mind. And thank you for watching.